Hello everyone, we're back for another tutorial here. Hole number 9, Sakura Hills. Very long hole here. What you'll usually see me do is kind of one of two things. If I feel that I'm going to be able to give it a good run to go for this, I might pull out a ball like a Titan or a Kingmaker, for instance. Otherwise, I'm going to basically go into straight layup mode, just to kind of conserve a ball. And I think that's a very good strategy for you guys as well. Unless it seems blatantly obvious, but you can see my opponent is using a Kingmaker here. I could put myself in a lot of trouble with him having that extra side spin, which you really don't need for a lot of these shootouts. There's going to be very few holes, probably about one, where you could, it's the other Sakura Hills. I forget the number, 6 or 5. Probably 6. Par 3. It's a very tricky shootout that I have yet to get. You could really use the side spin. But aside from that, you can play this course in all these holes with navigators if you would like. For the most part, you just got to make sure that your opponent's not going to beat you by a stroke. In this instance, there's no way my opponent will. So keep in mind, I'm going to use, we're at about 5-6 rings here. I shouldn't even need to be very precise. Great ball to the left, great ball to the right, really not going to matter. This fairway slopes very much towards the center here, so you're really not going to find yourself in trouble a whole lot on this hole. You'd really have to butcher it pretty bad. Another thing, maybe with early extra miles, for example, you can get in a little bit of trouble. You can definitely navigate this tour with extra mile. This is probably the last tour that I would, feel comfortable about doing it with the new setup. Since they added the Southern Pines, you can get away with extra mile, but you're really going to want some more of that top spin for sure. And as I mentioned, as long as my opponent stays back in this range, like I'm not intimidated by him getting up there, it's going to be, a low percentage eagle. It's going to be makeable, but so is mine. So if I lay up over here, I could just as much get it from over here as my opponent. So just something to be thinking about. I'm not going to use any elevation on this. We're just going to play this one straight up, 3.7. Not going to do anything fancy here. Just get it out in play. It doesn't even have to be perfect ball. Not a big deal. Get it up somewhere towards the north half of that fairway. Gives me a backbone approach. Pretty much exclusively. You do need to kind of get it up towards the front a little bit, because certain winds I could get myself in trouble otherwise. So here you can see, this is kind of an interesting scenario. So here you can see my opponent has a Hornet. There's no reason to go for the shot that my opponent went with a Hornet. So just from, food for thought for you guys, there's no advantage. You only do that shot if you're prepared with a Thorn, for example. This is just too hard of a shot. My shot is easier than my opponent's shot. And with the Thorn, at least you'll have the backspin or claw, either one. I only use claw at a 9 or a 10, so if I don't quite have that level, and I won't even use it. Now what I'll usually do for this one, you can see I'm towards mid-club. Didn't realize that I had Saturn on. I know I changed that. It probably didn't save in my app for whatever reason. Now I usually use maybe plus 5%. As I was mentioning, I am a little bit more towards min club, so 2.5-ish. And you can see kind of what I'm faced against with my backspin here. So that's what you're going to see me do. 2.5. I pulled the screen and it did not respond. So now I'm going to have to make this. It's still going to be makeable, but it's a little bit more wind. Got myself in a nasty position there. It's a bad break. I pulled the screen back on the ball and it didn't respond. So one of the things that you got to be a little bit careful of when you get close to time. But I like to use a lot of the clock, and just every once in a while will have that kind of, bite me. So let's go down here. It's right around, quarter club, somewhere in here. 2.9 rings. Let's see if I can't, force a shootout here. It's a very similar wind to what I just faced. Make sure that you do have the ball guide kind of shooting through the hole, especially into a headwind like this. You want to make sure that you are going at least, what is necessary. And you can see that I'm going to pull towards. I'm going to be a little bit more methodical, a little bit slower, since I have a little bit more time this time. Perfect ball. So it's got a chance. We can still get the shootout here. just too much. So, 2.8 would have done that one. So just edging out. A little bad break for me on that one. Not a big deal. I would have liked to have got to the shootout because I'm missing so many different shootouts. And, but as I mentioned, you'll get to the shootout 99% of the time with a 4. So that's one of the biggest reasons that, if that first wind isn't favorable, I'm talking about. So if you get, kind of a wind that's not a big deal, you'll easily kind of be able to pull off what I just did. Worst case scenario, the shot is a little bit harder. And you could see, if you want to go back and scroll to, let's just say we had a hard wind, a big tailwind or a big side wind, not a big side wind or a big headwind. You can see off to where I was just aiming. If you want to scroll back to the right, there's a lot of rough. So one of the things you can do, especially with a side spin ball, is you can put all the left spin and kind of go around the bunker. My shot was a little low risk because it was a very side wind and there wasn't really much room for error. The wind couldn't really mess with my shot in that situation. But for you guys, if you wind up with very challenging winds, you might want to point it off to the right and just play some curl, play it a little bit more safe if you have to. If that wind gets up there, double-digit miles per hour, for instance, and it's a straight headwind or something, and you don't feel comfortable going for that little gap, that's something that you can do just to play it safe. So keep that in mind, and good luck there, and see you guys on the next one.